If you ask some people sometimes the things that they think about when it comes to themselves, you be like, life is so much bigger than that. Your packaging in your mind is so much bigger. God has something so much bigger for you. Don't be too fast in judging. You don't know if on your path there is something that you need that He's going to do for you. We love to say God's delay is not denial, but what if the delay is you? What if the delay is you? Sometimes the delay is us because we get in the way.
225 moments where his glory shines. Yeah.
Welcome back to 225 Moments with me, Monique Nicole. I am so happy that you're here, friend. This is a space of empowerment and encouragement inspired from the Bible verse Joel 2:25. What God promises to restore years that the locust has eaten. On this channel, you'll find episodes of God Restoration's power, stories where He's taken us from loss to abundance. And so we're going to dive into this episode. We're just kind of pigging back from the last one where we talked about the spiritual doulas, where God will plant people in your life to push something out of you, to take you into His next level, and to the next level you ask God for. So what happens when the blessing doesn't look like the blessing? Or what happens when there is a doula that come in your life and push you to a different level and that wasn't what you expected, right? So I want to ask, have you ever been in a place where you asked God for something and you expected the blessing to be a different way, a different form, the way it came to you? Who delivered the blessing? You had it all down packed. And so for you, you were expecting this to look this way and be this way. But sometimes we hold ourselves back expecting God to give us a certain blessing, for it to be a certain way. But listen, as good as God is, He's going to give you what you need and not necessarily what you want. So I want to dive into that discussion today because I'm sure there is a point in your life where you've had that, where you expected something to come and drop just the way you wanted it, and it just didn't look that way. So when you dive into this, the first thing I would tell you is that your focus of whatever you're focused on will absolutely determine what your expectations would be, right? So if you focus on something, and let's just say your neighbor is also standing next to you and they're focused on something too, your neighbor may have a different perspective because you guys are focused on two different things. Or let's just say you are focused on the same thing, but yet you have different expectations, right? So sometimes we forget that our focus dives us into what our expectations is, which could lead us short. We could be left short if our expectations allows us to stay on this nice little path and box, right? So we're in this box and we're expecting it to be this way. But what exactly are you focused on? That's what you should ask yourself. Now, your focus should also be tied to your heartstrings. It is, believe it or not. Listen, have you ever witnessed a time or a case where you saw something, it didn't look quite right together? Have you seen a couple on social media and you look at them and you go, I don't know, it's something about them or something is just not quite right. Listen, that's because that's not where you are focused and your heartstrings isn't attached to that. But I bet if you were to ask the lady who you're looking at, or the guy who you're looking at on social media, if you ask them, say, hey, what's going on with you guys, they will have a different perspective because their heartstrings are attached to it, right? When your heartstrings are attached to something, you see things differently. What about when you see a lady, or let's just say a family and a baby that's not so cute? All right. I'll just say that sometimes we believe that our babies look like heaven, like this is Disney baby, right? But let's just say when someone else sees the baby, they're like, no, it's a cute little baby. Everybody says babies are cute, right? But to that mother or that father, that baby is gorgeous. That baby is amazing. That baby is everything because it's attached to the heartstrings. And the heartstrings also gears your focus. It's gonna take your heartstrings together and say, hey, this is exactly where you should be, or this is exactly what you're looking at, right? So sometimes our heartstrings can shift our focus where it goes off base, right? And that's not even where we should be. So you have to be very careful about who your heartstrings are attached to, right? Because people are getting our paths, and then we'll say to ourselves, how did this happen? How did that happen? I remember in a place where I was getting ready to move to Atlanta. This was a big deal for me and my family. I was going to be the first one to just say pack up and say, "Hey, I am moving." Okay. Listen, I had a whole plan orchestrated with me and a girl, and we was thick as thieves at the time. And so the plan was we'll move to Atlanta and we'll get an apartment, and our kids will pretty much have a place big enough for our kids to be, because I had one child, she had one child. We had planned it all out. It was just that's what was going to happen. So here I am, and God is using me. He used me so in that moment where he's like, yeah, you should do their resume. So I did their resume. They need their resumes done. So I said, okay, here's your resume. I'm applying for jobs. She's applying for jobs. I'm, on the horn real hard, just making sure that I'm doing my part, because I always been a big believer that faith without works is dead. You can't ask God for anything and you just sitting on the bench chilling. It don't work like that. So here I am, and I'm applying. She's applying. And she get a job. She get a job, move to Atlanta, and then her boyfriend also gets a job and he moves to Atlanta. Now, I also did the boyfriend resume too. Don't ask me, but I did. And so they got this job. And so I'm excited because in my mind, the blessing was lining up where, okay, everybody is coming up. I'm all about people going to the next level and coming up in life. So I was really pumped about it. So here we are, and I'm applying, and I'm telling you, I was interviewing like crazy. My resume was popping, okay? Like I was headed to Atlanta doing at least 10 to 15 trips back and forth in like a 3 month span. I was getting up here, like being in front of people. And I just kept thinking, like, God, why am I not getting a job? What is the problem? In my mind, the blessing looked like, hey, her and I talk. I'm thinking we're gonna get the job around the same time. We're gonna go up to Atlanta, have a good life. And that wasn't the case. The blessing did not look like that, right? So here I am applying. And so I'm just, at this point, I'm starting to believe, Lord, have you forgot about me? Like I have blessed people, did their resumes. I'm pumping them and giving them motivation about how to be better. But I'm still interviewing for jobs. I'm still trying to make the blessing be, and I'm allowing myself to be in the purpose path of doing the work. I'm doing the faith work, right? Where's my blessing? Right? And so I felt like he was preparing me. He was preparing you. So sometimes when the blessing does come, the preparation before the blessing only allows you to keep the blessing that he's going to give you too. It all works together. So here I am. Finally, I get a call and the recruiter says, we want to interview you. And it was a big time company. It was IBM. So I was like, okay, I'm getting interviewed with IBM. It's going to be amazing. And so I had a couple of telephone interviews, and the beauty of it is this time I wasn't going to an interview. I was going to sign my papers because I was hired over the phone this go round, which was such a God thing. That was only God can do that, right? but still walk it out. Here's the blessing. So, woo, I got the job, right? You're thinking that's the blessing. Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, now it's about where I'm going to live in the whole agreement that I had with the lady, right? My girlfriend at the time. Like, all right, I'm getting ready to come and got the job. And she says to me, mm-mm, I talked it over with my boyfriend and you're not going to be able to stay here. What do you mean? I can't stay there. So the blessing I thought looked like the blessing was me getting this job, me going ahead and relocating my whole life, staying in a place that we both agreed to, and then boom, she changed the game. Right? She says no. My boyfriend said he doesn't want to do the whole, roommate thing. And mind you, the boyfriend wasn't a part of the deal in the beginning, but you got to keep it moving sometimes and just go on. So here I am wondering, how am I going to make it? I was trying to orchestrate plans. Okay, an Airbnb, or have to go and do a hotel, an extended stay. I was thinking of things fast because I knew I could not abort this blessing. I knew God did not bring me this far to leave me. Okay. So I made a few phone calls, and I so happened to call a friend of mine's that recently had moved. And she used to be my old hairstylist. And so I called her up and gave her the story and told her I needed somewhere to stay. And she didn't hesitate. She said, yes, come. Just come. She didn't even ask two or three questions. She was like, come. Yeah, just come. Now, mind you, the house she was staying in was very tight. It was no room for me. But that didn't look like what I thought it was going to be initially as the blessing. But had I aborted the blessing because of what someone else changed, it would have left me out of the blessing. I would have turned that whole blessing into a burden or a tribulation because I did not go forth. God put that person in my life to say yes to me. And so I would just say to you, somebody that God put in your life is going to say yes when you don't believe that the blessing looks like the blessing. So take your expectations off. Take the focus off of what you thought you were going to do or get and how it was going to be. If you sit down and think about all the things that you've been through, half of them don't look like what you thought they were going to be, but God gave you what you needed. So in that moment, she said yes to me. And I said, you know what? Thank you. And to this day, I always bring this story up to her, and she's like, girl, that was God. You don't have to thank me for that. But I say this to say, on that journey, when I had to shift, all I could think about was the focus of what this was supposed to be. It put me down in a rut because I was like, how could someone change on me when this is what we decided? Listen, the same person that I did a resume. Like, sometimes people think that, oh, I planted that seed and it's supposed to come up the way that you planted it. Sometimes you're missing the blessing because you're looking in the places where you planted. Oh, that's good. You're looking in places where you planted, and that was never where it was supposed to come up. Listen, you're just in charge of planting the seed, and God's going to bring up the harvest. And regardless of what you think it looked like, listen, you let God do the rest. So your focal point in which of what you think this blessing look like, you got to make sure that your focus is on God. You allow God to say, God, my heartstrings was attached to it this way, but I need my heartstrings attached to you. When you attach it to him, he comes in and he fixes it. He'll make a way out of no way. Look at the lady who didn't have room for me, but she made room for me. God will make room for you too. And whatever you think it is, like in your head, you kind of got it all fixed. Sis, let that go. Don't think about it that way. Let God do the rest. Why is it do we automatically misjudge the package when it doesn't look like what we think it does? Like, why do you think that is? And listen, it's even worse today in social media. We'll look online and be like, that don't look like it, right? And then we'll just say, no, that ain't for me. How do you know exactly if that's for you or not? Like, did you allow yourself to be connected to it in order for you to know? Sometimes that's people. Sometimes you'll run into somebody and you'll be like, that was just the person. But listen, God makes no mistakes. Everything in your path was supposed to be there. Everything in your path you were supposed to experience. There is no habit. There is no just because. There is no it just happened. There is no happenstance. That's what I'm looking for. There is no happenstance for you. So I would just say to you that your focus, wherever it is, you got to look at, I'm not going to judge the packaging. I'm not going to judge what I think. I'm not going to judge any of that. I'm going to allow God to look deeper into this moment and tell me if this is really for me. Because sometimes the packaging we put in, those are false expectations. If you ask some people sometimes the things that they think about when it comes to themselves, you be like, girl, it's far from that. Life is so much bigger than that. So I would tell you, your packaging in your mind is so much bigger. God has something so much bigger for you. Don't be too fast in judging. Don't be too fast in thinking that you know exactly how this is supposed to go. Because you don't. You don't know. You don't know if on your path there is something that you need that He's going to do for you, that your experience, that connection, that next experience. Sometimes the blessing is for an experience. The experience for you to get something from it so that you can continue down your path. All right. So don't be too quick to judge. Sometimes we block our own blessings. Sometimes we do. We love to say God's delay is not denial, but what if the delay is you? What if the delay is you? Sometimes the delay is us because we get in the way, right? We size up what we think we want, we size up what we think we need, but God knows better. So I would just say to you, there are so many ways that we look at situations and we say to ourselves, oh, that's not for me. And you block it. You block it. But I will also tell you, you're going to stay in a cycle of blocking, honey. We getting out of that. We letting God be God, right? You're going to leave room for God, for Him to be God in your life. And you're not going to block it. You're going to say to yourself, if it is delayed, it is God's plan, and I'm not going to get in the way. But what I am going to do, I'm just going to stay on this path with Him. How do you stay on the path? How do you stay on the path? Listen, you stay on the path by praying. You stay on the path by making sure the people around you are only speaking life. You can't be on a path where where you think you are speaking life, or the people in your life isn't speaking life, and then you're praying. That happens. People love to say, oh, I prayed about it. But you got everybody around you that's speaking all these bad seeds, right? You got to do your part. And then you allow God to talk back to you. How does God talk back to us? Our experiences, things we see, revelations, intuition. Listen, God lives within us. He gives us the power. You got to listen. You got to listen, sis, because I promise you, whatever it is, you probably holding yourself back. But I want you to get in your prayer closet, get quiet, and allow God to do the rest. In position, get in position, and don't you be the blocker. Don't be the block. Don't hold it up. Listen, we're not holding that up. We're going to keep going. I want to challenge you to look at things differently. How do you see things? I want to challenge you to look at, where is your focus? What are you sizing up? Leave the sizing up to God. That's not your position. The focus should be on Him, and allow Him to attach your heartstrings. Listen, I pray that you set your alarm for 225 today on God restoring your vision, restoring where you are focused, restoring what it is that you need to be looking at, you need to be focused on. Sometimes we think we're focused on the right thing, but God comes right down and be like, nope, you need to put that aside. You need to be focused here, right? I want you to really take some time and set your intentions at 2:25 of the day and ask God to restore your vision and restore your vision on Him. He'll never leave you and He'll never forsake you. And don't you get in the way of your blessings because God got bigger things in store for you and He don't need your help, okay? If this podcast blessed you today, I would encourage you to share it with a friend, like, comment, and subscribe. I love to hear from you. We are wherever you listen to your podcast. This is Apple Podcasts, this is YouTube, iHeartRadio, all of the podcast platforms. And I thank you for spending some time with me today. And listen, it's 225. Set your alarms and have an amazing day.